Good evening. We're picking up where we left off last time. Congratulations, Jigstraw, on being first, and thank you for the hydration that I just now noticed. I'm feeling a tiny bit under the weather, but hopefully, I stopped doing that. In hindsight, it's not really a thing that I, choose to do. Alright, please bring my dragon back to life. Alright, let's try cleaning out the inventory a bit. Logistics, what a thing to start the stream on. Assault Sword of the Dark Wizard. I probably don't need that. Got this, axe with no particular properties. I can just hit things with that. I want to keep a melee weapon, a spear, like a high DPS melee weapon, a spear. Ideally one that can, break, structures. A spear. Don't particularly need swords. Or daggers. This spear does exactly 1 more point of damage. The healing bonus is a nice bonus. I'll hold onto these wands, because you never know. I'll get rid of the Wand of Firebolt, because I've already got Firebolt. I'll hold onto the scrolls. I can probably get rid of the t-shirt and jeans. Though I kind of want to hold on to it just in case there's a thing for holding on to it until the end of the game. Sometimes games do that. All my essences, I'll happily sell my gems. I haven't really been making potions, but having the option available would be nice. And I can just drop this. My skull devoured that man. I also noticed that one of the little Java creatures just showed up, and I totally could have killed him to get some of my stuff back. Oh well. I don't think I found the boss in the catacombs. I found 2 pets, and I found the God of Light, which I presume counts as the Pierce Ferret. So I'm presuming that I just have to find and kill the boss now. In Black Ops 1 Zombies mode, if you pack a punch, the starting pistol will turn into a Kimbo pistols that shot grenades instead of bullets. That does sound fun. I always enjoy it when games do the thing where, there's a tangible reward for holding onto your starter thing. Sometimes it's annoying, but other times it's hey, I got rewarded for doing this thing. Alright, there's something off to the left, I can tell because there's a gateway there. I wonder if I can go through the left-hand side here somehow. Or if there's like something else somewhere down the line. Oh, hello. Just kill me. I should have brought out my Spirit of Light. They sure are trying their hardest. Spirit of Light. I know that there's something off to the left. Did I speak into Necromancy? Not yet. I've got one respec orb, and I'm not sure what I want to spend it on just yet. Like, I might do the Paladin thing, who knows? Yeah, no, I assumed that it was going to be the only pre-respec orb, that's why I didn't use it trivially. The game made it very apparent I know how to read. Oh, I'm hurt. It was like, this is a super rare item. Don't expect to get another one. I do know that there's another one in the Unepic shop. I'm dead. But those cost Unepic coins, which I've only got 30 of. And the other challenges that would get me more seem mostly logistical in nature, which I need to get more stuff to do, so... There is something off to the left somewhere. I should probably just be using magic in here. I'm probably like at the level where I should like actually be using my main combat style. Especially since it swings so much faster. At least against enemies that it's like strong against. Or hit damage might be lower, but the overall DPS is probably much higher. Light Seared for the win. I'm in danger. Never mind. I'm very powerful. Simply choose to level up whenever you're in a tight spot. Where's that mausoleum thing? Maybe the boss is like in there somewhere? That would make sense. I know that there's at least one room off to the left because there's the gate down there. Unless there's something in the room that opens it that I just didn't notice, which might also be the case. How to damage per fragment, not bad at all. It's probably worth my time to put points into healing. I do a reasonable amount of it after all. These guys are chunking my health. Granted, I'm not exactly keeping them at range proactively. But yeah, there's a slight temptation to use my one and only respec to like go mace, heavy armor, light magic, and just like be a paladin. But like how viable that is kind of depends on how specifically anti-undead a paladin is in a given setting. And like the extent to like the quantity of undead. Like here in the catacombs I'd be eating lunch, but like what if I leave and there's no more undead for the rest of the game? That sort of thing. I'm also reasonably confident that the boss is going to be near the, near the other gate, because I've noticed that the bosses are usually near gates, so that the run back isn't as bad. So maybe I should just poke around in that room a little bit more. I haven't lit every torch in here, which might just be a blind fox moment. Don't I have like a... Yeah, there's an illumination scroll. I got like 10 of those. Might be worth using. Might reveal some information. I think I'll use that. Oh, hello. You've lit all lights in the catacombs. That does raise the question of how do I get over there? It's like the key's on that side and I don't see a way to get over there without already being over there. Would phase door work, perhaps? I don't want to waste it if not. As far as I can tell, there's nothing else in the catacombs that I haven't properly explored. I think I will simply try it, and if it wastes a scroll, it wastes a scroll. Okay, it wasted a scroll. Oh well. Actually, wait, no. The Necromancer Pure Spirit was here. I did do that one as well. What are the odds that, like... I have to control a skeleton on the other side of the door to open it? I don't know if this game is that sophisticated. That sounds like the sort of puzzle that I'd put in a game, but like... This is where I got the skull. Did I ever go into this door here? I have no morphed items. I should actually make a note here. At least killing the skeletons is really nice money. They drop a lot of gemstones. I must have missed something somewhere. I do notice that there's a little ledge down there that I could stand on. Maybe there's like a hidden passage there. Just gotta wait for the elevator. I do enjoy puzzle solving, but sometimes it ends up as a pixel hunt. I also like that the flame on the candle actually stays pointing upright, even if the candle itself is like tilted downwards. It's a small detail, but it's a nice one. equip you a mace with divine light. We already got arcane control. There's a door in the wall there. Maybe I can use that for something. Yeah, wasn't there like one room with like a bunch of eyes and it was kind of like weird? Maybe there's something in there. I think it was like in the elevator shaft. Here's the God of Light. Yeah, maybe that like big empty room in like the elevator shaft. Maybe there's something there. Rude. Yeah, this one. Like, this room does seem kinda sus, at least to me. There's a wooden floor here. I'm concerningly low on blue essence and might want to go restock. This is the room where the Necronomicon was hidden. I like how the top bit of the sigil is like cut off. And it amuses me ever so slightly. And this, I think, is where Zero was born, or created, rather. I got that skeleton's head. Yeah, I am kind of wondering if, like, the way to do this is to, like, control the skeleton to open the door from the other side. want to have to look this up, but I might have to look this up. If I end up not being able to figure it out. I'm not at that point yet. I am going to go purchase essence from the chef, and then I'm going to try more things. I have overshot. Every now and then, I wonder how different my life would be if I had, like, a functioning sense of direction. Like, there'd have to be, like, some kind of deviation, you know? It's like sometimes you do need control, or sometimes you do need like the spell from the area to like get through it. I figure it's worth a shot. I just need a skeleton. You killed 2,000 monsters. The spell did not work. Perhaps it needs to be cast more than once. One of these was just magic. Here we are. So I got this skeleton. Can the skeleton do anything down here? Also, is the skeleton just like mine forever, or... I think the skeleton is just as confused as I am. Also, as to whether or not I can cast while being attacked, yes, it's a thing that you can get on your armor to resist. So if that's like the door in the library, then the boss is just on the other side of it. And having it open would be really nice. But like, actually, how do I get in there? Because when in the library, there was nothing on the other side but the boss, so like... I'm clearly missing something. Also, it does look like the skeleton is just, like, friends with me now, so that's kinda cool. There was that gigantic skull in the hallway leading up to this place. Maybe there's something I can do there. Brilliant maneuver, Miss Ariel. I also never did find the spirit's name. Like the one that I got the quest for. Maybe I'll just go do that for a bit. Library was this one, I think. This is tower, not library. Library must be this one. Would I like a hint? I'm not out of things to do yet, so no thank you. This is garden. Oh wait, was garden and library part of the same area? Nope, this is just garden. Or maybe library was like part of the part of the tower? Or like just above it? Okay, yes, here we are. Skull is shift 6. Not gonna lie, my skeleton friend is kind of putting in work. And I fell. These things happen. There is also a thing there that I just haven't fully lit up, so maybe I'll do that one in the area. Totally intentionally in the area. Okay, right, that was the thing that I also couldn't reach. May as well use another elimination sprawl. Sound, they call it. Interesting. Let's try and get back up there without getting knocked down. I want to go to that bookish pit over there, just in case that's where the spirit's name is. In case you're wondering, like, what I'm doing. Man does not notice his life energy being siphoned out of him. Oh, hey. What this? Oh, well, that's the name of the spirit. There goes my reminder that I'm missing stuff. What reminder that I'm missing stuff? You're showing us sunlit? Ah, it's fine. What if these guys count as undead? They're kind of insane, and it would be nice to have one. Pretty sure those are golems. I think you're right, because I think I have a scroll that summons Iron Golem. Actually, I just got ghost material for that. I could see it going either way. If I could get one of these guys as like a controlled undead, that'd be awesome. Have you found it? Yes, your name is Lux. Lux, now I remember. 1,000 thanks, my friend. Once again, I am in debt to you. I possess nothing material to offer you, but I grant you a portion of my knowledge. Use it wisely. Yay, extra skill points. We take those. And there was like a bridge over here. Which I couldn't get to the other side of. You see something, skeleton? This reminds me a little bit of a toad house from Mario. Key to the tower. There's also an unlit room 2 to the right and 1 up. The odds of there being something useful there are probably not high. But I'm kind of at the point where I want to try things. I will, however, leave the licking of ants to my skull. Not a thing I really want to try. Another locked door here. A vault? Interesting. Oh, I just had a key. Okay. Good afternoon. May I help you? Who are you? I am Monedius, the manager of Hardavank. Hardavank? That's right, sir. Hardavank, the bank of this castle. A bank? Here? Then show me the money. This is a robbery. Hands up. Unfortunately, we have no money to offer you. How is this possible? In the place where I come from, they have mountains of it. Then what's Hardavank for? In Hardavank, we offer you a secure place to store all your belongings. So it's a safe, right? Perfect. Give me the key and I'll not disturb you anymore. It'll be a pleasure as soon as you pay the annual quota of 100 coins. He's already bleeding me dry. They're the same no matter what world they come from. Items dropped in the safe will not be lost or stolen. Well, that's useful. I'll get one of each of those. Is it available since before the library? I presumed. I saw the thing, I saw that I could open it. This is fine. Yeah, I guess I'll just drop things here. Why can I not drop this? Is there not enough room to drop it? That's probably what it is. This would have been extremely useful to have earlier. Oh well. Oh, shoot. That was not the drop button. Well, that's one way to end up doing something. I wonder if there's like a hotkey to quickly drop something. That'd be nice. I wonder why Frost has such a big spike in damage when I take the first level of it. Weird. Anyway. Do I need fire to cast any fire spells at all? Yes, I do. May as well put at least one level back into every magic thing. That is ever so slightly bothersome. That also messed up all my shortcuts. I don't remember exactly where things are, and it's not that big of a deal, so I guess I'll just go like that. Well, that was a worthwhile diversion. Not in the way that I expected it to be, but it was a diversion. There's also a thing down in the sewers that I just never lit up, apparently. May as well do that one here. Assuming I can. Must be the map up there. Mostly just wanted to get that off the map. Okay, I guess it's back to the catacombs now, because I've got no pending quests and no unlit rooms. My first thought is like, maybe there's something in this room that I've just overlooked. It's like the key's on the other side of that thing, with the door. Or rather, like, even if I had the key... The keyhole, I mean. That's the word. Like, the keyhole's on the other side of the door that I need to open, so, like... It would make sense if I could, like, get to the other side of that door and then use that as, like, a shortcut out. But it's like, how do I do that? I'm gonna check one room up and to the left of the one that I'm currently in. Maybe there's like a thing that I can drop down there. Or maybe there's like an alternate route in the I can't remember what it's called. The Mortuary Macabre, I think, maybe? The place where the necromancers are buried. Also, this skeleton has lasted much, much longer than I thought it was going to last, if I'm being entirely honest. Definitely worth bringing along with me. Oh, there is a door over there. Exit of Mausoleum Magnum. Oh, wait, no, that's just where you... That's just where you come out. I think I just killed my skull. And my other skull, attached to a whole skeleton. I'm just gonna find another skull attached to a whole skeleton and let it kill me too. That is a lot of axes. I should definitely switch to Spirit of Light in here. Over here's where Zero was, I think. No, that's different. Wait, my guy's not got the icon on his head. Weird, okay. There's that thing which I've used. That lever just made the platform up here. Can't interact with anything in here, as far as I can tell. There's an open ceiling above me, which makes me wonder if maybe there's like a secret room above this one. Also, thank you for the head pats. Like, that wouldn't help me get to the bottom left. Oh wait, the Blood River. I remember this. I never followed up on this one. This is probably it then. They appear to be immune to frost, but messed up by light. For the hydration. That looks like a Guardian thing. I presume that this Blood River is like a soft check to make sure that you've either got the Spirit of Light or the Blessing of the God of Light. And there's the thing. I don't have the key to the catacombs on me. Because I left that in the vault, didn't I? Magic feather. This is fine. If I'm fast enough, nothing will respond. That was not the key to the catacombs that I picked up. Yep, I did eventually find it. No backseating necessary. I just had to be thorough. I'm probably gonna have to kill my way through everything again. But that's fine. My Spirit of Light is, like, mostly charged. Given that, like, every room that I'm going through is not bereft of enemies, I'm not particularly confident that the river is gonna be pleasant to go through again. It's fine though. I've got Light Bolt and I've got the spirit that shoots light bolts. This is fine. I'm just farming divine favors, that's all. This is fine. We're gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom. Anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. Hey Zira, look, another portal. Any idea where it goes? This door leads to the underworld, home of Sux Mortis, guardian of the Sixth Key. Surprising lack of sass from Zira. I presume that my my light bolt is going to be useful here. Oh, hello. Are we cool, or... Okay. Before facing Sux Mortis, you must know that his scythes are very powerful. Wear the best armor you have and try to dodge them whenever you can. Does he have any weak spots? Attacks of blight are his bane. Moreover, a good axe or hammer should break his skeletal body under his rags. Overall, if you think you're in trouble, I'll teleport back to the castle. Yeah, don't worry. I do like that Zira is, like, cool now, but I definitely wish that he didn't have to, like, go through the ringer to get there. Oh well, it's fine. That guy's cool. Ow. Okay, that hurts. Spirit of Light Pet, why are you not helping me? Also, my guy is dead. Ow. I mean, yeah, this might be like the second one, the mines, where it's like, oh, if you die outside the castle, like, I die for real. Or it might just be, you know what? We're in this together, let's be friends. It might be that. Yeah, maybe a bit of both. Dodging that scythe seems difficult. It's very big. And he's dead. That was much less of a pain, ow, than Neuron was. to the laboratory. You defeated the 5th Guardian and obtained the key to the laboratory. I did it. Lab was... Lab, I think, was thank you for the rotation and the headpads. Lab, I think, was the one that's, like, at the top. So I just climb up a little bit. It's either the one at the top of the Guardians, or it's the one that's just, like, just above me. I will find out promptly. There's no keyhole here. Oh. I am a little bit bummed that the respec orb ended up getting wasted. That light does seem to only work on undead, so it's whatever. There is a keyhole there, but I can't actually physically reach it. Unless maybe this is one of those ones where it's like, kill everybody in the room and a ladder spawns. Worth a shot. I'm pretty sure I recall physically reaching one of those keyholes, so... I'll probably be fine. I spotted a door up there. Ow. So if I can do another door... Oh, I see another door. Ow, my bones. My poor skeleton. Well, just the face of a skeleton, but still. I wish to join my skeleton. That was probably the rudest respawn I've ever had in any video game ever, not gonna lie. Well, at least that wasn't self-inflicted. I once had a, the Star Wars Phantom Menace game for the PlayStation 1. I had that, and that game was, like, really, really, really difficult, at least for, like, child me. Oh. Ow. And there's like this one bit where you're supposed to like run past a tank, but I didn't really understand that. So like I tried to fight the tank and the tank just like blew me up with its gun. And I was like trying to like save scum to get around it. So I was like quick saving, taking a step, quick saving, taking a step. Except on one occasion I accidentally, or unintentionally, maybe it's a better word, quick saved while there was a cannon shell approximately 2 feet from my face. So it would load, literally die instantly. Like there wasn't even like a split second where I could control the character and like try to do something. It was literally like by the time the game actually yielded control of the character to me, I was dead. And then it would reload the last save automatically because I died, where I was dead. So I basically just, like, whenever I tried to play that game, I ended up, like, dying over and over infinitely. And I had to start the entire game over from the beginning. Because, like, there were no rolling saves, it was just that was it, because memory card. So I ended up never actually getting past Naboo in the PlayStation 1 Star Wars Phantom Menace tie-in video game. A little bit of aerial lore there. I'm gonna go try the thing at the top of the garden. This way you use minimum 2 save slots. Like I say, not actually an option. This was PlayStation 1. You had a memory card, and the memory card let you have, like, a save on it. There was no such thing as, like, having more than one save unless you had more than one memory card. Which I didn't. I was not that wealthy. It was actually a fight with the parents to argue why I needed the first memory card in the first place. Like, imagine getting, like, a PlayStation for Christmas and then having to wait until your birthday to get a memory card. Like, not to sound spoiled or anything, but like I say, just my parents didn't understand which bits were optional and which bits weren't. And their general sentiment was, I didn't need anything optional, ever. This is another thing where the door thing lock is on the other side, I guess. Ow, my ankles. Rude. I mean, yeah, I killed him, but like... he stinks, so that means it's morally okay. And this is presumably the lab. My word. That escalated quickly. Might be where I get lightning magic, hopefully. I'm gonna put points into healing. If I do 2 more, I'll heal for 100 per cast. Nope, it does not scale the way I think it does. That orb that maxed out my health. Oh, hi. Looks like where golems are created. Oh, short elevator for once. Very nice. Oh, hello. Actually, maybe that's an iron golem, and maybe the statue guys, or the... ow. Maybe the armor guys were, in fact, undead. Perhaps we should make a detour to the library and get one of those, because, I feel like I could use a little bit of extra spice. Yeah, Tipsocius. Suddenly bloodstained. Again. Ray immunity. Just immune to Ray. Meltroth. Level 12 in bows. Arcane arrows. 19% more damage with bows. 9% more crit damage with bows. Arrows shot from this bow transform to acid upon impact, coating the target for a few seconds, especially effective against helmets, armor, and constructs. That is a lot of text. I forgot to wait until I got a gate before I did that. Whoopsie. Oh well. I'm gonna go see if I can take command of an armor. No, I cannot. They must be constructs. I've got a rank in necromancy, right? Arcane, same thing, whatever. Speaking of a bow being the best weapon in the game out of nowhere, in Fable 1, the best weapon in the game is a bow that you can only get by being evil, or at least doing an evil thing. And the funny thing is it's actually easier to get if you're good, if memory serves. Yeah, the necromancy spell just sometimes fails. It's not a case of I got interrupted earlier, it's the necromancy spell just sometimes fails. Ow. In Fable 1, the best weapon in the game is Scorm's Bow, I believe it's called, in terms of just raw damage output. There are other weapons that are better at, like, certain niches, but in terms of just, like, raw damage output, it's Scorm's Bow. And the way that you get it is by getting the maximum amount of evil points from the Temple of Scorm. like, you get... So, and, like, the way that you get evil points from the Toplos Quorum is by sacrificing fuel to them. But there's a number of factors that influence how many points you get from sacrificing somebody. They give you more points if you're good compared to being evil. They give you, like, more points if it's, like, a spouse, I think. And you also get more points the closer to midnight it is. But it's really funny, because basically, like... To get the best weapon in the game as an evil person, you basically have to sacrifice your spouse at exactly midnight. If you're off by, like, a second, it doesn't give you enough points. Because it's not an accumulation thing, you have to get all the points at once. But if you're good, you get so much more points from doing the same things that you can just kind of, like, show up and sacrifice somebody, and you'll probably get the bow. It entertains me. I hope my skeleton does not die. Let's go heal. I'll shoot that wall to assert dominance. I might have slightly misremembered the details about Swarm's bow, but, like, the general sentiment was basically that. Either be literally the worst person possible, or be a reasonably decent person who did one bad thing one time. In my opinion, unironically, the actual best weapon in Fable 1 is a frying pan. And, like, I'm not even joking or memeing. It is, as far as I'm concerned, by a significant margin, the best weapon in the game. Like, you know that trope of, like, the item that looks like a joke item, but it's actually, like, super overpowered? You mostly see that in Isekai these days. That's basically the frying pan from Fable 1. To get it, you have to go on, like, the longest side quest in the game. It's a massive pain in the bottom. And then at the end of it, it's like, your reward is a frying pan. It has no special properties and does basically no damage. We wasted your time. And, like, that is the style of humor that game has, so you would kind of, like, take it at face value. Except... And, like, it's not even listed on the UI, but except, Frying Pan has 5 augment slots. The best equipment in the game has 3 augment slots. And there are options for what you can do with 5 augment slots. But my personal preference is to put in 5 mana regeneration augments. Which, because of the way that Fable 1 handles mana, if you put up a mage barrier with 5 mana regeneration augments, and then like an extra 3 in your second weapon slot, you're basically indestructible. Because, like, Mana Shield makes it so that you take damage to your mana instead of to your health bar. And with 8 regeneration augments, there is literally nothing in the game that can damage you efficiently enough to actually punch through your regen. Like, you could just AFK during the final boss. Rude. Is Fable still a good game worth playing today? I think it's still worth playing today. I was actually going to play Fable, sooner. It's just that it's, I had like the original version, and it doesn't like to play nice on modern systems. So I was like, oh no, I've got to change my plans. And I think that's why I'm playing this game, actually. Scientist clothes. Level 4 in armor, 42 damage reduction against rays, 5% extra experience. I don't have armor. But yeah, Fable is absolutely still worth playing today. Game of the Year edition, I think, is the original one, but it can be a pain in the bottom to get working on modern systems. Anniversary edition is the remake that they made specifically to work on modern systems, but it's not got the same art style as the original, so like it may or may not be your cup of tea. I suggest like comparing the art styles and like going with whichever one you like the look of better, I guess. Or rather, if you don't want to put in the work to make the original one work, just play the new one. But in my opinion, it is absolutely a game still worth playing today. Fable Lost Chapters? That's the one. It wasn't Game of the Year edition, it was Lost Chapters. Yeah, it was Fable, and then the Lost Chapters was an expansion for it. So if you have the Lost Chapters, you've got the entire game. But yeah, it'll take some wrestling with it to make it actually work. But in my opinion, it is very worth playing. Hey Zero, I'm sorry for laughing at you before, okay? It must be very hard to discover something like that. Are you serious or are you joking? No, seriously man, that was harsh. What'll you do? I will accept that, in my previous life, I was a vulgar and primitive lump of flesh. But, you're mad about what you were before? Not the fact that you were lied to? Of course. If I was once a wretched mortal creature, it is evident that they would hide from me in order to avoid clouding my thoughts. But they lied to you. They changed you. Before, you were another person, and they took that away. You are wrong. What they did was make me into a superior being, freeing me from the impure thoughts of a stupid corporeal creature. Oh, come on. Now you're a slave, a servant that spends the whole day waiting for somebody to enter the castle and possess him. I don't see any improvement here. You could never understand anyway. You're a simple mortal. I suspect that there's a level of cope happening. Oh, the thing is producing them, I think. Yes, it is. And I turn it off at all? Yeah, I might try and get my hands on the Anniversary Edition and play it on Steam. And play it on stream. Or I might try to make the original one keep working. I do know that, like, in terms of, like, player reception, people did not like the Anniversary Edition. Ow, 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 ow. That was all of my damage, all my health. I'm in danger. I know that people didn't like the Anniversary Edition. I'm not sure if it was because they didn't like the art style, or if it was because they thought it was like a massive cash grab. But like, it was not received well when it came out. I'd have to actually like try playing it myself to form an opinion on if it's an actual decent like adaptation of the game. Or, well, not adaptation, but like recreation. I mean, to be fair, ow. Ow. Okay, how am I gonna handle this? Maybe if I go down there, there's like a thing that I can find. Because that is a lot of damage. Also, it doesn't seem like my skull is going to be much help. I can, however, set constructs on fire, so this is fine. Well, no, I can't set them on fire, I guess, but... That's where I got the lab coat. Also, yeah, ice shotgun I've kind of just been using for the whole game. Like, who needs a different spell? Also, yay, sapphires. Especially after accidentally wasting the respec orb, I really don't want to put points into armor just to wear the lab coat. The big golems are a nightmare as a warrior. Yeah, I can envision that. Yeah, Ice Shotgun is just like, I like fighting big things. Like, the biggest hitbox, please. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want to waste skill points, now that I know what I'm doing. I wanted to save the orb, but I was dropping things, and use on the orb was in the exact same place as drop on everything else, so it kinda ended up going poorly. Oh well. Interesting. I have never personally played Chrono Trigger, so I cannot comment on how Chrono Trigger-like they are. Chrono Trigger is very much on my list of games to play, though. store, question mark? Oh. They took my ring of the underworld, that was mean. That's one of my best items. Oh yeah, I know what Chrono Trigger is, I just haven't played it yet. I'll make a note here. Yeah, Dragon Quest is another one that I don't have a history with. I played a little bit of Dragon Quest XI, but Dragon Quest XI was insultingly easy, so it kind of put me off of it. There are some axes here, but they're too small and rough. They must be confiscated prisoners' weapons. I presume this will be used in a quest later. Yeah, Dragon Quest is another one that I'm probably going to play at some point, it's just not as high on the list. Okay, I'm guessing that whatever magic is here, I'm going to have to go and collect all the axes for. What with there being more than one of them at all? Let's see what's down here. Is this just a guardian fight? This place chills me to the bone. Where am I? We are in Gauntlet's room. Another guardian? What can you tell me about it? Gauntlet is a worthy foe, as it is a magic being protected with such strong armor that no weapon may pierce it. Moreover, its armor resists any temperature. Immune to any weapon, cold and fire. Oof. It'll be hard to kill. Anyway, he will surely have an opening. We all have a weak point. I just have to find it and attack. Okay, what if its weakness is shotgun? Nope. It's playing rock, paper, scissors something. Ow. How does one rock, paper, scissors? Like, if I take my staff off, I can't, like, swing my fist around or anything. Well, that's certainly interesting. Unironically, my preliminary hypothesis for how to handle that boss is I need to find some way to play rock, paper, scissors. which would be very funny if that's actually what you have to do. That is a pillory. Or a stockade, I think it might be called. That's the classic ball and chain. Hey, there's a goblin inside this barrel. What are you doing here? And why are you so far from your people? I hide from jailers. Group of explorers enter castle, but all be taken. Don't call jailers. Don't worry, I won't blow the whistle. So your friends are in jail? Yes, friends in jail, down ladders. You know what? I'm gonna set them free so you can get back to the mine. I thank you, I thank you. A jailer with big axe has key that unlocks cells. Really? Then I will politely ask him to lend me his keys. Jailer don't give key. Yeah, I know. That was just a bit of sarcasm. Why are you doing this? You didn't even ask for a reward. Not that the goblin would have anything of value. I know, Zero. I'm doing this for Nelson Mandela, and for everybody else that was unjustly jailed. Is this Nelson Mandela a relative? No, he isn't. I don't even know him, but after watching Invictus, he's become one of my idols. Okay then, let's go. Let's find the idiot that has the key and free those guys. I better look for their weapons too, otherwise they'll never leave this place alive. Well, I know where the weapons are. I should probably get the weapons first. Because, like, I could imagine, like, if I was in that position, not wanting to, like, go out and about without a means of defending myself. Surprised I'm not yoinking a skeleton. The last one that I had died in like 2 hits, so not worth the effort. I don't have that much arcane essence anyway. And it takes several tries to catch one, so I'll save it for later. Danger. Hostile prisoners. The door is locked. Oh. I did not desummon my skeleton in time. Skeleton? What? I keep making up more words as the night goes on. I did not desummon my skull in time. Oh, that actually might have been what I was going for. Skull in time. Hey, there's the key to the cells. Calcium. Oh. Nobody in there. Are we just friends now, or...? I'm okay with being friends now. We have killed an adequate number of jailers. The power of friendship and an overwhelming amount of violence. This chest is locked. I wonder if the reward for this will be the key to this chest. Like, oh, we found a key, we don't know what it's for. Fortunately, I don't think I can extinguish the goblins. But that's fine, a little burning is good for the soul. That was not the button I wanted to hit. I wanted Shift 7, not Shift 5. Wonky hotkeys are always wonky. All of my goblin friends appear to be dead. You didn't want to die with the goblins? I didn't realize that the goblins were all dead. I was focused on, killing the jailers. Oh well. This is fine. Okay, yeah, without numbers, they're just kind of getting torn through. I mean, I am rescuing them. They've got the option to die in their cell if they want, and they're choosing to die on their feet. And I think that that's a perfectly reasonable thing for them to choose to do. Oh wait, this is the other end of this. Excellent. I like how I basically immediately left the lab after getting into the lab. And now I'm just kind of like here in whatever jail place this is. This is, however, fine, so it's okay. We did it. Now to bring them back to their guy. At least it's not the DS3 jail. I don't recall. Do you mean like Irithyll dungeon? With like the weird women who like wave lanterns that lower your max HP? Not the worst jail I've ever been in a video game. Done. All your friends have been freed and the jailers are destroyed. You can go home now. I think. Have nothing to give. Just a key I find. Don't know what it's for. Hey, these goblins are still following me. They are too stupid and weak to survive on their own. Most surely they mistook you as some sort of leader. Take advantage of this and use them as shields. I suppose that if they stay here, they'll be captured again. Or if they come with me, they won't survive the next Guardian fight, if they even get that far. Well, looks like there's only one choice. Are you thinking of sacrificing them? Not a bad idea. Of course not. I was thinking of taking them home to the mine with all the other goblins. But what a wasteful option. Use them as shields. The gate's right there. I'll go do that. To be at home. Grateful. Not at all, man. You always friend, you always welcome. You see, Zero? I finally made some friends in this horrible place. Friends of these creatures? Yeah, why not? You think you could do better? Of course. I am superior to these pathetic creatures in every respect. So then show it. Show you can be a better friend than goblins. I need not show anything. Big words. Is an achievement for getting them to the mines without using gates? That does sound like a pain in the bottom. Alright, I think we're gonna call it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Wednesday. The game is going to be Spirit of the North. The next time that I'm playing this game in particular is going to be on Friday. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope to see you again. Good night.